Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angela, and I'm super glad that Richard Brooke agreed to be live with us on a fireside chat. I know this is supposed to be an informal discussion, Richard, but there is a lot of excitement going on in my heart right now, like extra butterflies beating there. And because I'm just so honored that you would take time with us today and spend time answering some questions that our leaders have, and also just pour into our team. As many of you know who are joining the call with us live, I'm a platinum leader. Our team has dreams of being diamond leaders. And so we are excited to learn from you with your years of experience and the just the authenticity and grace with which you have brought people to understand network marketing and our profession in a new light. So I'm grateful for that, and just super honored for you to take time out of your busy schedule to spend time with us today. So thank you. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. We love you and Jerry, and we love the whole Layman team, and happy to support you any way we can.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start with kind of an off-the-wall question, but it's going to lead into a second network marketing style question. Not off the wall, truly, but one of our fast rising executive leaders, just love her. Her name is Sandra Hood. Sandra asked, what Young Living product was it that convinced you to do Young Living? Now, I know that there's more to that question, and your Why Young Living video is one that we promote a lot. But if you would start with the product and then tell us, and maybe it's not an actual product, maybe it's a different product, and then we'll dive into the rest of our time with you.
Wow, there's a few different ways I can answer that, but I'm going to have to say abundance. And I don't know if you've heard this story or not, but so this is way before I was ever had Young Living on my radar at all, but like probably 2 years before. And Adam Green and I were at GoPro, and it's over, and we're walking back to meet Kimmy and Brian and Melissa Carruthers for lunch in the casino. And Adam and I are walking down the hallway or whatever you call it. And John Hammock is coming the other way. John's been a friend of mine for 15 or 20 years. He's kind of a network marketing legend in his own right. Been in a lot of different companies. He knows a lot of people. He knows the whole landscape. This guy, he's a veteran. And so John comes up. I hadn't seen him all weekend. And so, hey, John, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I said, hey, this is Adam Green. I don't remember what Adam's rank was at the time, but I said, this is Adam Green in Young Living. And John looks at Adam and says, do you have any abundance? I have no idea what's going on. I actually, for a half a second, thought John was asking Adam if he had like an abundant attitude. And so Adam kind of gets this sheepish grin on his face, and he says, well, yeah. And he reaches in his coat pocket and he pulls out this little satchel of oils, which I'd never seen Adam do. I'd been coaching Adam for 3 or 4 years, but we've never talked about the products. I'd never seen him use the products. And there you go. And so John said, I'll take it. Adam had like 4 or 5 bottles in this little thing that he kept in his coat pocket. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. And John says, can I buy that bottle off of you? And Adam said, well, this is my personal stash, and it's only half full. And I don't remember if John offered him $20 or Adam said it's $20. So anyway, Adam sold him his dregs of abundance for $20, but not before Adam put a last bit on. And I'd, at that time, been in full-time in network marketing probably 38, 39, 40 years. I'd never seen that in my entire life. but it doesn't. I mean, the story continues. So we go to lunch, and have I told you this story?
I've heard this story, but most of the people on this call haven't.
All
and
right.
I just love it. That's why I put it in my diffuser. That's why it was close by.
Right. So we go to lunch, and Brian Carruthers is sitting across from me. Adam's sitting across from me. Kimmy and Melissa are sitting to the right of me. And there's this table of two gals over in the restaurant. They're like, maybe 20, 30 feet away. And, after a while, they start looking over at our table. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, here we go. There's 10,000 people here at GoPro. And, these are people that recognize me. And, they want to get an autograph. They want me to sign a book. They want to get a picture, right? It's just funny. And so, I'm just like ignoring them so that I can be present to our conversation. But I see them out of my eye. I know what's going to happen here in about 10 or 15 minutes. They're going to come over and say, oh, sorry to interrupt, but can we take a picture? And so sure enough, 10 or 15 minutes later, here they come. They finish their lunch. They come over. And they say they're sheepish. And they say, excuse us, who is wearing what? And I quit wearing Brute like when I was 15, and it cost me a date because I put too much on. And Kimmy doesn't wear any kind of anything, and Brian and Melissa didn't, and Adam is sitting there with this grin on his face. And of course, he gave him his card and told him, and they were just casino people. So at the time, Angela, that was just like a surreal experience for me. I did not put it together. But a couple of years later, when there was this, for an entirely different reason, this conversation about Young Living, what it helped me understand was, and the real reason I say my favorite product in Young Living is 40. And you have that. You have the roll-on 40. Does anybody have the roll-on 40? Just 40. Not a lot of people have the product, but I have it. And it's my favorite product. And what's that blend? It's 40% retention. And that's the number that I found in Adam's back office when Kimmy and I are trying to figure out, how is this company, how is Adam, how are all these Young Living people so successful when they really don't have a clue what they're doing? From a network marketing standpoint, they're pretty clueless. We're talking to like platinums and silvers and golds that come to our retreat. How'd you get there? I don't know. And, they're making 10, 15 grand a month. It's pretty funny. So in Adam's back office, I found this number. I asked Adam, I said, how do you calculate that number? He says, that's the percentage of people that have ever joined my team that were on ER last month. Of course, what's ER? Auto ship for $100 a month or more. 40%? That's unprecedented in our profession's 75-year history. That's an unprecedented number. And what it means is you don't have to actually recruit near as many people as other people in other companies have to recruit to build the same size organization, because for every 100 people they recruit, 90 of them are quitting. And that doesn't happen in Young Living. And that was actually the cincher for me. That's what had me decide, you know what? I can't compete with that. I'm leading my people down what I think is an honorable path to financial freedom. But our retention rate long term is about 8 or 10%. And I'm doing everything I can possibly do to get it to 8 or 10%. And you guys are at 40. Anyway, that's awesome. A long answer to a short question.
No, you hit both of those insights, I think, that are so important, that our financial opportunity and our product longevity, our history, our commitment to excellence has taken us. Somebody said in the comments, we really just love the products. And you hinted at this, but I have a new member on the call today. Not a new member, but a new interested business builder who asked a few questions. Of course, we're big fans of the 4-year career and the 4-year career for women around here. I have multiple copies of each of these. So, and I know there are different versions that are available as well, different editions. My first edition is the spine completely broke on it. And I think I finally recycled it because I've just been poring over it for so long. But for a person who's been in other multi-level marketing companies, different network marketing companies, and not found success, you kind of hinted at it just there with the 40% retention. What is it? This is a two-part question. Well, there's several questions within this, but what do you do daily that others don't do that have made you successful?
Me personally, personal development.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've been at this 44 years now, so I can't claim to have done personal development every day in the last 44 years. But that was the difference between me flailing as a distributor and me crushing it as a distributor. And there's so many powerful dynamics at play in this model that you don't actually have to do that much personal development to have success. And one of the dynamics that's in play that people vastly underestimate or just are not even aware of is that, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, what you bring to the party in terms of your ability to build a team here. So let's look at the features and benefits of somebody's leadership that joins Young Living and they're looking to build a team. They're looking to build a silver team or a gold team or a platinum team or beyond. So we want to look at, okay, what is your ability to communicate? And, some people come to Young Living with a higher level of communication skills than other people. And some of that spoken skills, right? The ability to articulate ideas and points of view and logic and influence and storytelling. And then, of course, there's the aspect of communication, which is listening and actually being present to the other person. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what are your communication skills? On a scale of 1 to 10, what is the size of your existing network? So some people come to Young Living with a network of a couple of hundred people. Like if I ask them to look in their phone, okay, how many people are in your phone under contacts? They'll say 200 or 300 people. And some people come into Young Living and there's 2,000 or 3,000 people in their phone. And you could look at the same thing in social media, right? How many friends do you have on Facebook? 200 or 300, 2,000 or 3,000, 20,000, followers. So people have different abilities. They have different confidence levels. They have different influence and credibility levels. They have different ambition. So some people come into Young Living and on a scale of 1 to 10, their ambition is a 10. And other people come into Young Living and their ambition to succeed and make money and rank advance and all that kind of stuff might be a 5. So, there's probably, 10, 15 different distinctions you could look at to size up what you and I bring to the party. So once you have that, understood, it would probably be a really valuable exercise for everybody to size themselves up in 10 different categories, scale of 1 to 10, and then average it all out. So your ability to build a team here, let's say you're a 5. Okay. Well, okay, 5. What do you need to do to be successful here? Well, a 5 can actually be successful here, but you probably are onto it that what a 5 needs to do is, well, work on yourself so you become a 6, so you become a 7, an 8, right? Get better, get smarter, get stronger, get faster. Personal development. But there's another way to get better and stronger and faster as a 5, and that's to sponsor a 6 or a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or a 10. And you might think, oh, well, how does a 5 sponsor a 10? Easy. Because a 10 doesn't enroll or not enroll because you as the sponsor are a 5, we put way too much importance on our own success. We think, oh, I can't talk to this people because I've been doing Young Living for 2 years and I'm only a senior star, right? If the person you're about to talk to is a 10, they don't care what you are. That they're smart enough to know if they're a 10, they're looking at the opportunity and asking themselves, can I crush this? Can I build this? Can I fit in here? Is this my tribe? Is this my community? Is this home for me? Can I find love here? Can I find community? Can I find education? That's how they're making their decision. They're not looking at you and go, well, okay, how long you been doing this? How many people have you enrolled? How much money have you made? That's small-minded thinking. 10s don't think that way. So how does a 5 sponsor a 10? Present to them, right?
Good.
And that's my story. Is I was a 2 and I just happened to put myself in front of a 10. Now, how did I put myself in front of a 10? Personal development. So we might think, oh, I need to personally develop myself to the point where I'm some kind of superstar. No, you really just don't need to personally develop yourself to the point where you're willing to talk to people on a regular basis. Talk to enough people. You know, if you talk to 100 people, you're going to talk to some 10s, right? Unless you're just prospecting in the graveyard or, you know, prospecting in the unemployment line. If you're just talking to people randomly in your phone, in your social media profile, you're going to talk to some people about Young Living that bring more to the party than you do. And so you really only need to develop yourself, your confidence, your motivation, your work ethic, to be consistent in asking people to hear your story. And that's not a high bar, Angela. It's not a high, you don't need to go to a Richard Brooke 5-day retreat to develop yourself to just talk to people. You could just do, some habitual reading and studying to lift your inspiration, get some wind beneath your wings, change the conversation that you live in. Most people live in a conversation that sounds like I can't, I won't, they won't let me, no one will listen to me, I tried it before and it won't work. Okay, well, surrounding yourself in that conversation is personal devaluation, right? That's the opposite of personal development. It's personal destruction. So step 1 is just surround yourself in a new conversation. How do you do that? Spend 30 minutes a day listening to Les Brown or Jim Rohn or whoever, right? Just
Richard
listen.
Brooke, network marketing heroes.
Well, they might. I yell at people a lot, so I'm not like Jim Rohn and Les Brown are soothing, right? They romance people into personal development, and I generally tend to shout them into it. So you got to find the person that you resonate with, that you love listening to, and then just immerse yourself and change your environment, change the messaging, change the story. It happens pretty quick. Happens in 3 or 4, 5, 6 weeks. You just change your messaging. It changes everything.
You have
And
to you have to know that when I told people we were going to have this chat today, you do resonate, whether you yell or that's your perception or not. You resonate with a lot of our team, and they all said, "Oh my gosh, what an honor! I love listening to his voice. I love listening to his message, and the work that you've been doing over on Authentic Networker has been valuable and free to anybody who takes the time to learn and listen from you." What would that look like from a conversational standpoint? Like, what would a five say to a 10? I'm
ooh,
going off of my questions a little bit, but I think it kind of gets at, Julie, what you were asking about tools that you use to make the business simple. And Richard kind of alluded to telling your story. Um, I'm leading you a little bit, Richard, but you go with wherever you think what it looks like, what it sounds like.
well, I mean, you said it right before the question. What I found as a secret sauce is it doesn't sound like what everybody wants it to sound like or thinks it should sound like. And it doesn't sound like what you might pay a lot of people to teach you what it sounds like. You know, a presentation, a script, a pitch, a bunch of questions, the answers to sort of set people up so that you can get them. It sounds very vulnerable. It sounds very honest. It sounds transparent. It sounds real. It sounds authentic. So, for example, if you have somebody on your list that is more successful than you, more influential than you, and what's true is that they have intimidated you, and that's why you haven't talked to them. And actually, the longer they've intimidated you and the longer you've waited to talk to them, the better the story. And how would you approach somebody like that? Well, for me, it might sound something like, Angela, this is Richard Brooke, assuming we know each other. And if it's, what happens a lot of time is I know who you are, but you don't know who I am, right? So it's might be valuable to refresh your memory. Here's how we might know each other. Here's how you might remember me. And I want to tell you, don't say things like, I want to be honest, because then that sounds like you're never honest, except right now. You could use the word candid or transparent, but just tell people, I have been fretting about calling you for 2 years. For 2 years, I've been wanting to call you and I've been afraid to call you. And as soon as you say those vulnerable, real, true, honest words right there, the person on the other end of the phone is like putty in your hands. Why? Because you got real with them. And that is 1,000 times more effective at getting them to listen to you than posturing yourself. Like coming at people with, you have some special thing you want to tell them, and that's why they better listen to you. And so it's kind of it's the opposite of, you should use Young Living products, and you should know all about network marketing, and you should read the 4-year career, and you should join Young Living, and you should make more money, and you should embrace natural healthcare, and you should have a non-toxic home, which is kind of how people come at their prospects. They take their value system and they try to shove it on everybody in their network. And that just doesn't work very well. It especially doesn't work if you're talking to somebody that knows that they're smarter than you, or they're more successful than you, or they're more experienced than you, or they're older than you, right? It doesn't work well. But what works really well is to tell them the truth. And so, I could just tell you, Angela, I've been wanting to talk to you for 2 years, but I haven't because I've been scared to death. And then tell them this truth. Because in my mind, and it's probably true, I'm not near as successful as you. I'm not as educated as you. I don't have the same experience you do. And this works for young people talking to older people, or people with a high school education talking to PhDs, right? And I just thought you wouldn't listen to me because I'm not as much as you are. And when you come at people with that kind of transparency, they listen. Actually, they'll overcompensate for your honesty. They'll reach out and they'll say, "Oh, no, 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 no. Happy, I'm glad. Why? No, why? You should have called me 2 years ago." Right? So that's one way, kind of a philosophy that we teach in the Authentic Networker is whatever you're afraid of, lead with it. Whatever you're hiding from, lead with it. Secret weapon. And then another way to look at how do you invite so-and-so is imagine the roles were reversed. They were in Young Living. You were not in Young Living and you didn't know anything about Young Living. And let's just say you didn't know anything about network marketing. And they wanted to approach you. How would you want them to approach you? And notice the answer is going to kind of land in the place of, I just want them to tell me about it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your pitch. That's your script, huh? Yeah. Just tell them about it. Well, what does that sound like? Well, I don't know. How about, hey, I got these products. Can I tell you about them? Right. So it's so simple, right? It's
Hey,
so
can you just
simple.
say that one more time? I want everybody to make sure they write that one down.
Yeah, I've got these
profound.
products. Can I tell you about them?
Yeah, that's it.
And people would say, "Oh, that's the worst pitch ever." Well, from a sales standpoint, and you go hire somebody or you go to listen to somebody that's a lot smarter than me, maybe, they'll tell you that's the worst line ever. And from the standpoint that they view things, they're absolutely right. But I've done this survey in front of thousands and thousands of network marketers. I've asked them to stand up if they make more than $100,000 a year in their company. And if there's 10,000 people there, I might get 500 people to stand up. And then I ask them to stay standing if they can remember what their sponsor told them about the products and the opportunity that had them take a look. Can you remember exactly what your sponsor told you that had you take a look? That you're now in and you're making $100,000 a year and you're probably making them $100,000 a year. And then the last question I ask them is that something you would ever teach your team to say to a prospect? And if it is, stay standing. And they all sit down. Why? Because they got in because their sponsor said something like, so from a sales standpoint, this is horrible. Even from what I teach, this is horrible. I, the Young Living member, I would love it, Angela, if you would join my team. Who's that about?
You.
That's all about me.
Yeah.
And yet, that's probably one of the most popular, horrible approaches. And why does it work? Well, number one, it's honest. And, number two, if you're talking to the right person, if there's a match between your products and your opportunity and the person you're talking to, if they're ready, if life has teed them up, it's not for you to tee them up. You can't tee people up. Life's got to tee them up. And life is their kids and their spouse and their job and their parents and their aging parents and their next door neighbors and their friends and their family and the social media that they pay attention to and the news that they watch and the books that they read. Right? That's life. The heartaches that they most recently perhaps have gone through. That's life. And if life has them teed up to see Young Living as a solution for a better life, it doesn't matter what you say.
That's amazing.
What matters is that you're standing in front of them asking them to take a look
at that moment. That, and when I also want to shout out to my sweet executive leader Khadija, who asked, similar to what we're just talking about, how do you ask somebody to take a look without feeling salesy? And I think you've nailed that in your honest approach to how would you want to be asked? How would you want to be approached? And that last piece of, if it's the right time and you're there to ask the question because you've done the personal development and the confidence building and the competence building, those are the things that are going to really catapult the yes out of a simple ask. No fancy language.
If you track like 100 Young Living people or anybody in network marketing, but if you track 100 of them, if we could track 100 random wannabe executives or silvers or gold, they want to build a team, and you track what is having them struggle, it's not what they say. Now, could they get better at what they say? Absolutely. But that's not what's missing. What's missing is they're not talking to anybody. And yet, if you ask them, hey, are you talking to enough people? Like as an upline or a coach, that's the dumbest question you can ask somebody on your team. Are you talking to enough people? Because they're going to say, well, yeah, I think so. Or they're going to say, well, I don't know who to talk to. Right? So that's not the question you want to ask them. The question you want to ask them is, can I see your stat tracker? Right? Which they won't know what that is. But if you want to have 100 people on your team that are intentionally marching forward, doing what they need to do to actually succeed on purpose, every one of them will have a stat tracker. And what they'll be recording is how many people they invite to take a look at Young Living every day. And the baseline criteria would be, you got to invite at least one person a day. If you don't invite one person a day, it's only 365 people a year. That means you're probably only doing 30 or 40 presentations. You're probably only enrolling 8 or 10 people. If you're not personally enrolling one person a month, with regards to building a team and rank advancing, you're out. You're not in the game. So that's what's missing, is people aren't doing the work. Now, why aren't they doing the work? Well, they think it's because they can't. They think it's because they don't have time. They think it's because they don't have anybody to talk to. They think it's because everybody says no, so the next person's going to say no. And they got that all wrong. And, you know, it's an interesting business, Angela, because there's only about 3% of us, and I'm not one of them. Kimmy was one of them. There's only about 3% of us that join Young Living or join any network marketing company that come to the party with the skills to succeed. Most don't. This is not that easy a mental game. You got to be on your A game mentally, and most people aren't.
Yeah.
Which is why most people settle for low-hanging fruit in life. They settle for an easier job, right?
Yep.
Maybe the kind of business where here I'll invest $100,000 and all I'm trying to do is make $5,000 a month. You know, in a business, like, I don't know, you open the dry cleaners or a pizza shop or something, and basically what you did with your $100,000 is you bought a job. Right? That's all low-hanging fruit stuff. I work for the government. I work for UPS. I work for whatever. So if you want high-hanging fruit, You want to build a business that'll pay you 5 or 10 grand a month for the rest of your life after you've worked for 4 or 5 years? That's not low hanging fruit. That's high hanging fruit. You got to be on your A game, which means personal development. You got to get your head right. You got to do the work. You got to compound consistency. All right, I'll shut up.
Well, I was just, that's so funny that you mentioned the compounding piece, because that was the first thing that I had to learn in reading the 4-year career. It's not my skill set to look at numbers the way compounding interest is, or the penny a day in Kimmy's book, compounds. So it's been really interesting to see this as a ratio, right? I used to listen to Jim Rohn all the time when I was just kind of playing around with this as a hobby. And I remember him saying a ratio will start to appear. And all I could remember thinking was, that sounds like 9th grade math class. But it is about confidence and continuing to ask every single day. We've been teaching as well since several of us are going through Run Through Rank, or have been through, that an invite to take a look is only accepted if there's a response. So we've really increased our intention, I think, from an asking standpoint and inviting standpoint, to be reciprocating communication and connection, and so I'm just really grateful for your leadership in that, your forward thinking, and teaching Young Living leaders some of these basic recruiting tools, truly. And that's, I did listen to you and Connie talk a little bit about recruiting is not a word that Young Living people in particular care for, but that's the crux of this, is that we can add product users all day long, but if we're not recruiting people who want to recruit others, our businesses aren't going to grow with that compounding interest.
Yeah, and that's a distinction that's difficult for Young Living members that have been around a while to grasp. And I can say that so harshly that kind of shocks people, that customers, which would be members who are on ER who don't want to build, are a dead end. And that sounds like blasphemy. It even sounds illegal, right? But in terms of if your purpose here is to build a team to silver or gold or platinum or beyond, they are a dead end. They provide volume and you earn on the volume. But once I'm a customer on ER, my DNA does not lend itself for me to duplicate. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't duplicate. I might, but the vast majority don't. And one of the reasons they don't is they've been sold on the products, but they haven't been sold on the opportunity. And then we tend to look at our team. If we have 100 people on our team, we say, well, I only have 3 leaders. The rest of them aren't leaders. I don't believe that at all. I believe they're all leaders. They just don't see themselves leading here because we haven't cast the vision. We haven't painted the picture. If you want rank advancement, especially if you want, you could like sell kits to silver, I suppose. If you're like a kit maniac, you could probably off a bunch of kits and get to silver. But you're not going to requalify and you're not going to grow beyond that because you just got a bunch of customers. If you want to grow organically, you got to have people on your team that understand network marketing, and network marketing is all about exponential growth. And there's only one criteria of person in network marketing that creates exponential growth, and that is the recruiter who is recruiting recruiters. It's not even the recruiter. So some people are like, well, I'm a good recruiter. Yeah, except the only people you're recruiting are customers. All right? So you missed the mark. Basically, you're not a recruiter, you're a customer acquisition aficionado. And that's awesome. And you can make some money doing that. But that's not network marketing. You might as well be in an affiliate program. Network marketing is about exponential growth. And when you understand that, then what you will do is you'll spend some time, these books are not about reading them. The purpose is not to read it. I'm not associating it with the Bible in terms of its value, but you wouldn't read the Bible once and say, okay, check that box. Or if you're a Muslim, you wouldn't read the Quran and say, check that box. What do you do with the book? You study it for the rest of your life. Why? Every time you pick it up and read it, you learn something new. Every time you pick it up and read it, you're different. So you hear something new. And the purpose is to be able to teach the book. The purpose is to be able to stand in a conversation with a prospect and speak the book. Not, let me tell you about the 4 cornerstones of the 4-year career, but to have them right there. So if somebody says, well, where do sales come from? Well, they come from the people. They come from people that love the products. And the average is like $125 a month. Right? Because you own that information. When you own the information, you can unleash it in a conversation at a moment's notice because you own it. And if you want to build a big team, folks, you got to get as competent around the income opportunity as you are the products.
Super true. Well, speaking of that, Richard, that's a great transition. We have an amazing silver leader, Cassie, who actually just qualified for Bridge to Gold last month. She's in our run through rank program for the second time, and it's just really showing a lot of excellence in that. She asked this question. Cassie said, continuing momentum after this huge growth last month, sales were super high. And how do we not get discouraged if our OGV is less this month? So kind of going back to your point there about product focus, and how do we continue to grow from here?
Yeah, well, that's an easy solution. Take your vision back and look at the bigger, longer picture, and don't be myopic, don't be microscopic looking at this month, because you can't control everything that's happening this month. And this month is not the same as last month. And there's market conditions going on right now that we're all benefiting from, but we don't have anything to do with. So you could go through run through rank 20 times in the last 4 months, and that's probably not going to compare to the fact that all of a sudden the whole world is on high alert that their health is the most important thing on the planet. And oops, about 40% of us have lost income, and a bunch of us have lost all our income. So all of a sudden people are on high alert about income. And guess what? Income from home, right? Because even if somebody offered us a job, we couldn't go to work to get it. So we're in this windfall that we don't deserve, and we should be incredibly gracious about, because it's morbid, but the windfall is at the expense of 93,000 souls, with more to come.
Yeah.
So, Cassie, don't worry about what's going on this month compared to last month. What you need to ask yourself is, are you doing the right things? Are you teaching the right things? Are your people doing the right things? Are they teaching the right things? Like, focus on philosophy, focus on the messaging, focus on the culture, focus on the principles, focus on the strategy, focus on the actions. Don't focus on the results. That's like trying to make sure that you personally enroll as many people this month as you did last month. You're not in control of that. You're in control of the parts that you did. Like, did you do enough invites? Right? Did you do enough presentations? But when it comes to enrollment, that's not on you, it's on them. And so you don't want to, that's kind of like targeting somebody and saying, this is another place people get screwed up is they think, okay, I got Angela on my list. And they create this whole vision of, oh my shit, Angela would be so awesome at this. If I could get Angela on my team, oh my God, I mean, she'd be so amazing, right? And so the way I go about recruiting Angela is with this, you're joining. The problem is Angela doesn't have that same vision, right? She hadn't even thought about doing something like this. She's light years away from your vision. And so that kind of vision will get you frustrated because you're trying to use your vision to impose on the universe. And it doesn't work that way. So just do what you can do, what you can control, and let go of the outcomes that you can't, and relax into it and trust that if you do the right things every month, don't pay attention to month over month over month, pay attention to year over year over year. And you don't even need to pay attention to year over year over year if you're doing the right stuff, because if you looked at Young Living's 25 years, they had some down years. I mean, this is probably no secret. 2019 was not as big as 18 in Young Living. Is that something to freak out about? No. The question to ask is 2029 going to be bigger than 2019? And if you know it is because you're doing the right things, and there's nothing to freak out about because sales are down this month.
Super
Cassie.
helpful. Super great. She said, I got goosebumps from that one, Richard. Thank you. Nan, gold level leader, Nan Gillespie says, what is the best way, Nan from our Ignite events,
Yep.
What is the best way to keep our own fears and insecurities from being what we think others are thinking and feeling? How do we get out of our own way and not limit others on our teams because of our own limiting beliefs or limiting thoughts?
Great question. Well, the first thing, Nan, that I would say is the question sort of poses, how do we influence what other people are thinking and doing because of perhaps our own thinking and doing? And the best way to do that is to change your own thinking and doing. So if you have fears, replace them with courage. Replace them with triumph. Simple as that. If we can get in touch with our own self-talk, our own story, when I do like a 2-day workshop on this subject, I actually have people write out. So they say, well, I'm afraid. Okay, what are you afraid of? Well, I'm afraid that if I do this, I'll end up ignoring my kid or ignoring my husband. I'll get all caught up in it. I won't cook dinner. I'll be a bad mom, or, I'll alienate all my friends. Okay, what I want you to do is spend 10 minutes and write a whole story about that. Write a whole story about everything you're afraid of, everything you think is going to happen that's horrible. Write it all out, just like it's going to happen. And of course, people don't like to do that exercise and they don't really understand the value of it. But the value of it is once it's done, then I have people like read it out loud. Read it to yourself. Okay, is that what you want to manifest? No. Okay, well, basically, that's your vision. I tricked you into writing your vision. And now what I want you to do is go get a bunch of pictures and movie clips and post the pictures up all over your home, because that's what you're doing. You're manifesting that fear. And it's a very simple, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a very simple process to change it. And you can't do it the way most people try to do it, which is to tell that story to shut up, or to tell that voice to be quiet, or to tell that voice, no, that's not true. No, that's not going to happen. None of that works. It's not the way the mind works. The way you get rid of that story is to create a different one. And the reason that works is this part of us, so start from the heart, actually maybe start from the gut, which very well might be more creative and brilliant than our mind. Let's go from our gut to our heart, to our subconscious, to our conscious mind, our whole spiritual being. The part of us that moves mountains and can easily move the thoughts and the emotions and the actions of a few people around you. The part of us that moves mountains cannot hold two opposing thoughts at the same time. So you can't have your negative, I'm afraid vision and your positive, I am triumphant vision. You can't hold them at the same time in this immensely powerful space. You can only hold one or the other. So how do you get rid of this one that is haunting you? Push it out. Push the new one in. How do you push the new one in? Read it every day. Read it every morning. You probably don't have pictures of, pictures of your team on the walls of your home with a big red X through them, right? Terminated, quit, right? Join doTERRA, right? Right? No, you got those kind of pictures, right? So even though we have this haunting vision that we let possess us, we're not intentionally using the skills of vision and self-motivation to manifest with it. We're just possessed by it because we don't have anything to replace it with. So create the one that replaces it, and then use the skills of, how about have your screensaver be your vision? Or how about get some movie clips or some video clips to support your vision and have them be on your computer? Like I have this thing I really love at the bottom of Google. There's like 10 links that I can put at the bottom of Google. And all I have to do is click on those little icons and I can go right to those websites, right? So I have my 10 most valuable websites are in that space below Google. So, fill yours up with your vision. Fill your home up with pictures and put your vision on your refrigerator. Put it everywhere so that wherever you are, you're pushing that story in, and the other one has no oxygen, has no place to live. Where does it go? Goes into some other poor soul's mind, right? It's out there in the world, like trying to find a host. You don't want to be the host for that. Replace it. Yeah. And then your new vision is going to influence everybody around you. And if you ever question the power of that, think about Martin Luther King. Think about Mahatma Gandhi. Think about Mother Teresa. Think about, I don't know who the Muslim leader is, but I forget who it is, but somebody, right? Somebody will know who it is. But, think about Jesus Christ. What did these people do? They held a vision, and they changed millions of people around them, right? Why? Because they just held firm, and they spoke it. So you got a team of 6 people, and you want to know how to move them?
It's awesome.
Malcolm X. Somebody put Malcolm X. I don't know. Maybe he was. Somebody's horrified now, I'm sure.
The thing I love about that, Richard, that again, Nan said in the chat too, people will, whatever the objection is, right? It's too expensive. It's a scam. this will never work for me. I've been in multiple companies and never found success, right? Whatever or I don't have time or money, or I'm guilty, and the things that you talked about. Those, when we hold on to those beliefs, that's what we transmit to the person that's in front of us. So
Totally.
I love that you brought how to bring our whole bodies into that, and our soul space, really, to replace. And that's why I held up this book. I promoted it earlier this week as well. Mach 2 with Your Hair on Fire, for recasting your vision, because the conscious mind doesn't, or an unconscious mind, subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between something that's played on TV and something that's really happening. So you can use strategies like you talk about and lead through in your vision workshops and Mach 2 to overcome those objections that you have within yourself.
Yeah,
To
it is
impact
the
your
essence.
team.
It's the essence of personal development. How do we develop? We just change the story that we pay attention to. And one of the ways to motivate yourself to do that is be real clear about what is the nasty story you're already telling yourself. So, Nan's example is, well, the products are too expensive. Okay, well, if you're telling yourself that story, you're going to manifest that. And you won't be able to influence the crowd. Right? How do you influence the crowd? If what you want to influence the crowd, which might be your prospects, might be your team, is that the products are a great value, how do you influence people to that way of thinking? You have to hold that they're of great value. So how do you do that? Well, you can do it purely through affirmations, but some things you also might want to go get some evidence for, because evidence, facts, perspective is a great things to add to your vision, because you can speak to them. It's part of your communication skills is when somebody says, well, these are too expensive, or I just saw one, I think yesterday in Run Through Ranks, one of their prospects says, well, I can buy really, really high quality oils at abc.com or something. And okay, well, that may be true. That's a perspective. And so there could be other perspectives too. But you can't just affirm them. You might want to go do some research. Like if I wanted to have a conversation with somebody about they're buying their oils at abc.com and they think they're as high quality as Young Living, what doesn't work is for me to tell that person, oh, Young Living oils are higher quality. Well, how do you know, right? You don't know what ABC is selling. You don't know what their seed to seal program is. You don't know what their sourcing quality control procedures are. You can't just say Young Living's better just because you think it's better. You do some research, and what you might find is ABC.com's oils, they're actually buying oils on the open market, and there's no comparison at all. But you would want to, if you're going to get in a place where you're going to have a conversation with a prospect about that, you're going to want to have some information. That's how you change your story. You change your own negative thoughts by noticing where you could do some research to add some evidence, some facts, some perspective, and then just pure affirmation, just make up a different story.
Well, and same thing goes for casting a vision. You said earlier about, and this isn't a question that came from somebody, but I'm just remembering in our conversation today, and I know we're getting to the end of our time, the vision of just getting to the next rank isn't necessarily going to be the one that compels you to move forward. The rank advancement story isn't always that thing that's going, that you're going to wake up every morning and say, I am silver, or, without putting in the energy and time to build your team. What would you say about rank? About vision when it comes to accomplishing, $1,000 a month or more, our Living Well Now 1,000-day vision, $1,000 a month in residual income, not by going to Walmart and getting a part-time job,
right?
But how would you speak to that with the piece of vision there?
Well, if I was coaching you, so let's say I sponsored you and we were talking about you being a thousandaire and that interested you. So now I have your attention, right? Okay, so you want to get to silver, let's say, so you can be a thousandaire. How you create vision around that is with granular detail. So think of, kind of hard to do on my camera, but maybe I'm dyslexic. Think of an iceberg. And what's at the tip of the iceberg is the $1,000 a month. So what you say is, well, I'd like to earn $1,000 a month. What I know as a coach and a motivational expert is that statement, I'd like to earn $1,000 a month, that's not enough. Being a thousandaire is not enough. What we need to bring into play is the iceberg. Layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of the iceberg. Because it's the iceberg that controls the movement. That's where the mass of the motivation is. So how do we get into the iceberg and create a vision that will motivate you? Also somebody said, well, I want to be a silver. Well, that's like you telling me what the tippity tip of your iceberg is. My response to that would be, that's fascinating. And that's not going to motivate anything. Why do you want to be a silver? So the question, why do you want it, or what will it provide you, or how will that make you feel, or what will you do with it? What I'm doing is drilling into the iceberg to find the layers of emotion, of value, of motive, of complexity, of spirit, right? That thing that causes you to move. So if we start at $1,000 a month, I'm going to ask you some simple questions like, okay, when we get there, Angela, what are you going to do with it? And so, let's say people say, well, I'm going to start with paying off my debts. Okay. How much, what are your debts? And, part of motivating people is, I said it earlier, it's valuable to actually do some development on the negative vision to give the positive vision more contrast and more value. So how I might develop the negative vision is what are your debts? And somebody might say, oh no, don't say how much your debts are, because that's affirming them. Well, I get that, but what we're doing here is actually preparing to create affirmations. So tell me what your debts are. And so let's say you say $20,000 credit card debt. Great. What interest rate are you paying? Well, I'm paying 20%. What's your minimum payment? It's $400 a month. Have you ever figured out how many months it's going to take you at the minimum payment and 20% to pay off that $20,000? No. Let's figure it out. Oh my gosh, the horror of it. This is like drilling down on the negative vision. Absolutely. Let's figure it out. Guess how long it's going to take you to pay off that $20,000, Angela? The rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
30 years or something. And so what you want people to do is be horrified at where they're at now, or the path that they're on now. It's kind of like if somebody wants to lose weight and you say, well, okay, how much did you weigh 20 years ago? You say, well, I weighed, 180 pounds. How much do you weigh today? 220 pounds. Okay, that's 2 pounds a year, right? 20 years, 40 pounds. Guess what you're going to look like in 20 more years?
Yeah.
Right. So, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to do that. So you get a little granular on the negative and then get granular on the positive. Okay, once we get these debts paid off, Angela, how's that going to feel? And I want you to talk about and articulate and actually put into writing the relief valve, the inspiration, the peace, the security, the power, the lightness that it's going to feel like to have no consumer debt. And then I'm going to ask you, okay, Angela, what are you going to do with the $1,400 a month? Because once you get your debts paid off, you got $400 a month more than you had before, right? Plus the $1,000. What are you going to do with the $1,400? And you say, well, I want to take my kids to Disneyland every year. Okay, what are the favorite rides? So what you want to do is to motivate people is don't pay any attention to that. I want to be a silver. I want to be a gold. I want to make $1,000 a month. You got to drill down on the iceberg. So if we got to $1,400 a month, got your debts paid off, you want to go to Disneyland, we got about this much of it, Angela. So how I'm going to get the rest of it is, what are the rides you want to go to at Disneyland? How's it going to feel to take your kids on their favorite ride? Where are you going to stay? Who's your favorite character? What kind of movies are you going to take your kids? Are you going to road trip to Disneyland? Are you going to fly to Disneyland? Are you going to go to Disneyland Paris? You're going to go to Disney World in Orlando? And then what I'm going to do to help you with your vision is I'm going to start to send you links of travel blogs and videos and information to help you crystallize that iceberg of motivation below you. And that's all the work of vision and self-motivation. And that's how you get somebody to silver. Because why you want them running to silver, Angela, is you want them running for their family, their kids, to take their favorite wild rides and take pictures with Mickey Mouse. That's what they're running for. They're not running for some silly title, rank in a comp plan. And they're not even running for $1,000 a month, because they could go to work at Walmart and make that. Right? They're running for the iceberg.
I love it.
The mass that's in their heart, that's in every cell in their body. That's what you want to pull out for people. You don't want people talking about silver's the most important thing to me. No, it isn't. That's one flake of snow on the tip of your iceberg.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, because it helps me as we continue to have conversations about advancing and goal setting. The questions that you ask, the drill down, the granular level, those are all really important to me. Those are the pieces. I'm just going to cycle back around to where Sandra started us. Those are the pieces of abundance that you guys sitting in the restaurant. For those of you who don't know, Brian Carruthers is a network marketing hero who's wrote Building an Empire and is a professional in his own right. For them to approach Adam because of the way he smelled is just is almost silly, but how powerful an intention is when you see what that is. And like you said in that story, Richard, and again, Sandra's part of your run through rank as well. She and I've been functioning a little bit as champions, as I'm kind of just coaching her and cheering her on, really, more than that. Cheering her on, truly. She's got great coaches around her. But what I want to say is the abundance of Adam touching in with you as a mentor 3 years probably before you were at GoPro. I remember seeing the two of you together. I've always been kind of a network marketing voyeur. I've been following different people, I feel like, since we started getting more involved in about 2013. And you guys were sitting next to each other at an event. And I remember whispering to my mom and my sister-in-law, because we'd gone to Orlando for that event, and saying, "Since when does Adam Green know Richard Brooke?" How does that happen? But there's wisdom in surrounding yourself, and that's what I love, guys. I told Richard today, I said, I'm hoping we have 40 on the call. Like, that's my vision, that was my intention. We had 47 of you at one time. So my heart is filled for you guys showing up for this today. As I look at the names that are on the participants list, how grateful I am, Richard, that these are people who are choosing to level up, to shift their mindset, to plug into the personal development, I can't wait to go back through the recording and take my own notes. I really wanted to practice presence with you today. So I only wrote down like 2 words, but in my recording time, I can't wait to just dive in a little bit more and get feedback from those of you who are on the call today. I'm just grateful for the abundance, whatever the abundance factor is that brought you and Kimmy to Young Living. You can't even pinpoint it necessarily to a moment, except for, something awesome.
Well, the story I have about that, Angela, is that Kimmy and I, in our own paths, our own journeys, have done enough things right and honorable in our network marketing careers to deserve that we finish our careers. And I don't mean that's like on the horizon, but that we finish our careers and we lend ourselves to the best network marketing company there is. And I think that's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy for me, especially because I've had a vision for, at least 35 years that it's always bothered me that the public associates network marketing with Amway. And, Amway's a great company. They really are. They have great products and they've done great things. But the way they have historically gone about being network marketers is what primarily has created the stigma in the marketplace. And they have built their company the opposite of the way I've always done it. And I've always longed for and held a vision for, I thought it was going to be my company for 20 or 30 years, that a company would do it so well, do it so powerfully, that they would surpass Amway in size and impact and influence, and have such an influence on the marketplace that our children, when they're building their teams, are talking to a prospect. Instead of that prospect saying, "Oh, you mean like Amway?" The prospect says, "Oh, you mean like Young Living?" Even if they're not in Young Living, even if they don't join our children, their perception of the model is represented by a different culture than Amway, a different community, a different agenda, a different style, a different philosophy. And I don't know that Gary ever had that vision, but I know he had the vision of creating a culture and a community that was a reflection of what he wanted to see and feel as family. And it's one of the beautiful things about it. It's not about your suit or your Ferrari or your house or, one of my favorite graphics, I have it saved somewhere. A Royal Crown Diamond posted it somewhere. I think it's a picture of a gal who's all dressed up. She's all dressed to the nines. Everything's Gucci or something. I don't know. And, she's a top network marketing leader. And then next to her is a picture of a Royal Crown Diamond who's basically dressed like a farmer. And and not that I'm opposed to women like you're dressed to the nines today. And I love that, but that's not that's not our image as an organization. We may dress up at times, but who we are that's doing Gary and Mary's work, we're real. We're real, authentic people, and we're doing real good work. And we deserve to be the number one company in our profession. And the marketplace deserves to have a different representation of what network marketing is than the old representation. And that's why I believe Young Living will be somewhere in the next 7 to 10 years. It'll be a $10 billion a year company, and it'll be the number one company in the space. And everybody that's ever experienced Young Living will have a different impression of what network marketing can be.
Wow.
And that's why and how I ended up here. I know it. It's destiny.
Yeah. We're grateful. We're so incredibly grateful. I'm just grateful for that long-term legacy vision that you're holding on behalf of Young Living and Bliss Business and all the things that you offer. But thank you for taking time to be with our team today as we aspire for greater and better circumstances. We're just indebted to you. Thank you so much, Richard.
You're welcome. It's an honor to be here. 2020. Hey, Jerry.
Thank you so much.
Where were you this whole time?
I made him go on his phone. I wouldn't let him sit here with me and distract.
Relegated to the phone.
He was hanging out with the dog. He was in charge of making sure he didn't bark or need anything. We appreciate you and Kimmy so much. Give our best to her as well, and enjoy. I hear you're walking a couple of times a day, and
4 miles a day, whether I want to or not. But I obviously want to, or I wouldn't be doing it.
And it's feeling okay? You guys, temperature?
Yeah. It's all good. It's the same here every day. It's like 82 and
beautiful.
Sunny every day.
Beautiful.
We're in
that's
prison,
awesome.
in prison in paradise. Yeah, I figured, you know what? If I can't get in shape during the lockdown, where I can't eat in a restaurant and I can't travel somewhere in the world, if I can't get in shape in the next 3 months, which I know I can, but if for some reason I fail, I'm just going to permanently brand myself a fat guy and just live with it, right? I'm going to go with it. And
hey, that cardio is better for your heart than anything else. Like, we're just going to keep you around a while, Richard. I think I like that.
I think my heart's probably okay, but I got to get in shape. I'm making good progress, and I'm hoping that the governor of Hawaii will keep us all locked down until like the end of September, so I can get in shape.
Yeah, I've heard that's true. Sonia Gibson, one of our participants, said daily dose of salt is amazing. She's really appreciating watching that journey unfold for you.
Yeah, well, that's one of the ways that I get motivated to walk is if I can work, because I'm a workaholic. I just love to work. I'd rather sit in my chair and work than walk. So I just moved work to the walk, and I listen to podcasts, and I make phone calls, and I coach people, and I do my daily dose of salt. And before you know it, the walk is over, usually. So that's like whatever you don't like doing, just figure out some way to infuse what you do like doing into it.
It's awesome.
It makes it easier, right?
That's a great lesson for even what we've talked about today. I think one of the things I learned most from Run Through Rank last week, you said, you've got to love inviting more than anything else. And so, that's one of my affirmation statements this week has been, I love inviting every day, and just really embracing even the parts of the business that feel scary to you.
Yeah, and what I've found, Angela, since you brought that up, that is such a secret to success, is whatever the single daily action is, whatever the granular detail, like if I just did enough of this, eventually what I want would manifest. So, maybe you have trouble falling in love with inviting. So take it down to the next granular level. What if you just fell in love with being curious? And if you can't get there, what if you just fell in love with learning about other people? So maybe being curious and talking to people scares you. So what if you just fell in love with studying people and being curious about them on social media? Social media is such a huge gift. It's like you have a camera in everybody's home, right? You want to know what they had for dinner. You want to know what's going on with their kids. Just tune into social media. They'll tell you.
Whether you want to know or not.
Right. So if you could just fall in love with being curious and then develop the habit of being curious, and you exercise that muscle gets strong enough, that becomes a habit. And then maybe you start asking some questions. Why? Because you've developed the habit of being curious about people. You're studying them. You're searching everything about them on Facebook or Instagram. And then that kind of leads you to start asking some questions. And then maybe you get comfortable with asking questions. And then that leads to, oh my gosh, if I ask enough people enough questions, the invites are just going to fall in my lap. So take whatever it is that you need to do every day and just keep drilling down to a granular level till you can find some piece of it that you could take on every day that doesn't scare you, that doesn't alienate you, that you don't say to yourself, oh my gosh, that's hard, I can't do that. And that's like secret sauce. The idea of, example I used in Daily Dose of Salt is in the month of April, I walked 119.7 miles. And if you'd have said to me, of course, that doesn't work here on Lanai, but what's a town, Angela and Jerry, that's about 120 miles from you?
Flagstaff.
Yeah. So if I say, okay, what we're going to do is walk to Flagstaff. Notice how that sounds like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. We could never do that, right? It's overwhelming. But how I walked to Flagstaff is I walked about 45 to 50 minutes in the morning while coaching. I mean, that's just one coaching call or one podcast. And I walked about 45 minutes in the evening. And a month later, I walked to Flagstaff.
That's awesome.
Love it.
So how do you walk across the United States? We've heard about people walking across the United States, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those people should be on the cover of Time magazine, right? They should be, Oprah should interview them. How on earth do they do that? Well, you could walk 45 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes in the evening, and 3 years later, you're coast to coast.
Yep.
That's how you get to diamond. That's how you get to platinum. That's how you get. And if you just focus on walking, you don't have to worry about all the rest.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
I love your journey part today was so good. It's not the outcome, it's the process.
Yeah, and it's not that you don't get better at walking or more efficient or get stronger. Of course, do it better every day. But nothing you do to get better compares to actually just doing it.
Yep.
And you can't actually get better unless you do it. It's not like you can read a book about it or listen to me talk about it and get better. You actually have to go do it and then map on to the doing it. Oh, well, he said this or he said that. Let me try that next time. And maybe you try it. Maybe you forget to try it, or maybe it takes 3 or 4 or 5 times before you try it and you get a little bit better. that all of the studying and learning and, that's like 10%, 90% is doing it, whether you do it well or not. All right. That's it.
Extra time with Richard.
Fireside chat, 1 hour and 22 minutes. Kimmy says you love to hear yourself talk.
I'll gladly walk with you every time.
I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe.
So yeah, we do. We love to hear you too. So thank you. Just wisdom. In fact, I have Mach 2 on audio from Amazon from a while ago. And so that's how you were walking with me in March and April. You didn't even know it. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's, if you listen, for me anyway, if I'm going to work out or hike or walk, or music doesn't do it for me. I'm not a music person, but if I can fall into somebody's story or education or, podcasts, I love listening to people interview other people. Last night for 45 minutes, I actually listened to me interview Les Brown.
What platform is that?
It's like, it's been in the back room vault for 10 years. I never produced it. Yeah.
Is it good enough for gurus? You bring it out for gurus?
I'm gonna. Well, he'll be a global influencer.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It was actually he and I doing a fireside chat for about 200 people.
Wow.
Together, and the video was horrible, so I just forgot about it. And I don't know what had me remember it a few days ago, but I pulled it out. I gave it to a video guy. He said, it's crap. We can't use it. But the audio is awesome. So it needs some editing. So anyway, I was listening to the rough cut of that, and it was just priceless. Les Brown is priceless.
When he walked into GoPro a couple of years ago, I think I just started crying. That was a total surprise and shocker. And we saw him walk right in front of us where we happened to be sitting. It was just like,
I may have taken.
Yeah, we might have been the last people to see him speak live there. I don't know. Maybe he's still speaking live, but
yeah,
you don't want to ever take national treasures like that for granted.
No,
because at some point you're only going to ever hear them on recordings.
Yeah,
and the fact that we got to listen to him live compared to future generations that will only ever get to hear him on recordings, that's priceless.
It's awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Welcome. Thanks, gang.